Is there anything you can say to people now that didn't apply before the 31st of December for the TIE, for residency? What are their options now?
I am reluctant to think it's too late. A different thing is whether we're going to be successful through the process. That's a different story.
This is BayRadio.
A welcome addition to the show. The last month, I guess, we've done 2 already with Ignacio from Pellicer Heredia and joined by Pedro this morning as well. Got the whole team in. Bienvenidos. Who's going first?
Good morning.
Let's speak to,
buenos días.
Let's
Buenos días, Ignacio. Buenos días.
Let's speak to Pedro
Everyone,
first, because yes, you haven't been in on this show before, have you?
Not in this month, but I've been in different times and some months ago.
You may have been in with Cal of an afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
But I'm happy to join you and, of course, to explain or maybe answer any question that may appear during the conversations that we're having. That extremely important that we are trying to get as more information as possible regarding the visa and the situation with the Brexit.
Yes, I mean this week it's been. Have you seen the problems at Alicante Airport in particular? People sent back straight away,
right?
Because they thought they had the right papers. They didn't. They didn't have the Spanish residency certificate. Had everything else, but it was a little bit early. It was yesterday that the ban for UK visitors, but they're still not really supposed to leave the UK anyway. So from today, if you've got a property, maybe that's what we talked about before, wasn't it? If they're selling or have to do something essential with the property, they can.
Yeah, that's right. The way I understand, Moody, is from the UK they allow you to come, but Spain is the one that needs to have a say as well at the airport.
And they have. Yeah.
And that's really where we are. But I must admit that we've been doing so many TIEs, Moody, so many immigration service so far, and we're still doing it for non-lucrative visa from the Spanish consulate in the UK and United States. We're having a lot of questions, and they're contacting us to do. But I feel positive as long as we do everything correctly. I think it will be fine.
This is true, isn't it, Pedro? Because you mentioned we obviously focus on maybe British expats and other Europeans, but you deal with a lot of Americans, and I'm seeing on the website there. So they obviously need the visa, and it's even harder for them to get in, I guess.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, on immigration issues, there are like 2 queues really. Is one for European Union citizens. Sorry. And the other one is for outside the European Union citizens, so non-European Union citizens. So for European Union citizens, there are some requirements that are, of course, more flexible, lower requirements to become resident in Spain. And for those who are not European Union citizens, the requirements are different, higher. I mean, the process, it takes more time. And of course, we are talking about most of the citizens that come to Spain applying for residency through a visa, or normally it comes from a non-lucrative visa or now a golden visa, which is it's an investment visa.
Yes, we've talked about the different types. So non-lucrative is kind of you visiting. It's not a work visa, is it? It's obviously
no.
The way it's worded, obviously.
Non-lucrative visa is for those who wants to come and retire and stay here for more than 6 months.
Yes.
So it's compulsory for you to stay more than 6 months. That obviously implies that you'll be tax resident in Spain. And then in golden visa, you could come in and out, but that really relies on investment.
That's the one, isn't it? Yes, I see. Because I'm on your website here, which, as we always say, alicantilawyers.es will get you there. That's the easiest one, perhaps for English-speaking folk. But little pop-up there: Spanish golden visa for investors. So what's it's £500,000 property at least, I think.
Yeah, before you go, the actual landing page is Visa Today. So
that's right. So visaspain.today is the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Visaspain.today. And I think Pedro was going to say about the guide as well for investors.
I mean, we launched yesterday like a quick and informative guide for golden visa, because we are receiving many questions. Of course, we are making webinars and seminars in order to explain and inform about golden visa requirements sometimes in a general way. But of course, everyone has its own picture, its own scenario, and with a specific question. So we have made a guide in order to be as much as possible. It's not always very accurate, but as much as possible to answer questions, to give proper information, to be as much accurate as we can in order to give proper information to those who want to get informed on Golden Visa. Of course, in the following steps, we will be able to guide them in order to the process of applying for Golden Visa. But we made this quick guide in order to inform perfectly and not just general information.
But you're getting a few of those, are you? Inquiries about the Golden Visa side
Absolutely.
of things? Yeah.
Not just for, of course, United States citizens, of course, right now from the UK, many of them that has invested in the past, because it do not have to be an investment from 1st of January, could have been invested in the past. And they could be able to, in order to apply for an investment visa, Golden Visa, with a minimum requirement of investment is 500,000 euros in property. Yeah. There are other kind of investments, like 1 million euros in a bank deposit or in a proper company in Spain, but for 500,000 euros for property is like a minimum investment, and for those who do not want to be resident and do not want to be attracted by taxes, because this is one of the main points really in order to see which are the advantages if I take the Golden Visa or not. At the end, tax issues are linked all the time whenever you apply for a residency or Golden Visa or anything, any movement that you want to do in Spain. At the end, you need to study and have a proper scenario about your tax situation.
Yeah, because whatever's changed, about Britain as a third country now, 90 days within a 180-day period, it is still, if you're over 6 months, then you are tax resident in Spain, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And actually, this is, Moody, this is the number one question probably you get is, you've got these type of people that come 3 months within the 6 months, right? So if you stay less than 183 days, then you will be non-tax resident according to the dual taxation treaty you might have. I mean, UK had one in 1977 with Spain, and USA had as well. So there is a lot of countries that had it. This is the first scenario, Moody. Then you have, for those who wants to stay more than 6 months, and that's what you said, the non-lucrative visa with some requirements that they could find out in the website, in the visa today. And then you have, for those who come in and out, and that's the Golden Visa, there is people that already have their TIE. And that's been created a lot of issues because at the end of the day, there is some people with a TIE or the green card, but you might have that before the 31st of December, but you could be in a picture that probably you spent less than 183 days. Obviously, these people need to seek independent legal and tax advice because it's not straightforward. Tax office could have a presumption that since you had the residencia, your wife is here, your children are here, but you're going all around the world. It's a very delicate situation here, Moody, but we are having a lot of those as well. So, as Pedro stated, it's important to do tax planning and the immigration planning. And we've been doing this even before Brexit because we've been dealing with non-European, we've been dealing with a lot of Chinese, Russians, Americans, so we're very used to this. So, at the end of the day, now, the fact that the UK is a third country, for us, is something that we're used to, but only with different countries. But the requirements are exactly the same, and we've been doing many in the past, and in some cases even take it to court, Moody. So even that when they deny and they reject your visa, because there is some cases like that. Actually, one of the problems, Pedro, we've been having is people having a property over 500,000 euros, but probably in joint names. And that's something that needs to be sorted, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the questions and answers that we made in this guide. As someone who invested or was going to invest for a property, for example, of 600,000 euros, but it's in joint names, is separated, is investment is made by both of them, so any one of them could not be able to apply for Golden Visa, and needs to be included in the deed some specific information in order to be able to one of them to apply for Golden Visa and the other ones as a family member. There are some tricks, of course, obviously in the application on how the investment is made and how the principal application of the Golden Visa is made. This is an example, but of course we made in this guide in order to answer all those specific questions which are really important. in order to understand the process and the steps to follow and do it at the end correctly. The golden visa is a straightforward visa. It says like if you follow the steps, you will get the visa for sure. But the non-lucrative visa is a lot more subjective, and you need, of course, to check perfectly things a lot more. That for the golden visa, which is an investment visa, is automatically you will receive it in 10 days. But the non-lucrative visa is a different visa. I need to say that the non-lucrative visa, which is a fantastic visa to enter in Spain, you obtain residency. You need to be resident in order to renew in the future. So you will be tax residents. It's extremely important to check tax matters to see which is going to be your tax situation whenever you come to Spain. You will have to declare your worldwide income in Spain. You will have to pay taxes in Spain. You will have to maybe, in case your assets abroad Spain are over 50,000 euros, you have to inform tax office about that. And there are some tax obligations that you need to do, and you need to understand them in order to before you come into Spain.
Yes, that's today, isn't it? The dedeadline for the 7.26.
That's right. Yeah,
a little bit late to be mentioning it now, but we've covered it the last couple of times you've been in. Just very quickly with the golden visa, without wanting to answer everything, so people don't have to watch it. So if that is applied for in one person's name, say the property is worth 500,000 or more, how many people, the family, does it cover? So can
beneficiaries, yeah.
Yeah. So if it's the main title holder.
Yeah, that's a good question, Moody. I mean, it's the principal application could be one of them, spouse, for example, and the other one family member, but also will be able to be descendants. Which are could be, of course, under 18 years old, but also over 18 years old in case they are dependent. Also could be ascendants, which is in this case, is more or less subjective because, I mean, you need to show and prove that are economic dependent, and this is sometimes, in many cases, is difficult and it's subjective. But of course, at the end, the principal can bring the family members, I would say, spouse, children, sometimes parents, in case it could be proof. Also a partner. Maybe someone is not married, but also a partner and needs to be proved that is really a partner. So at the end could be brought all this family.
Actually, with the ascendants, the parents, the key is whether you are really supporting them and they have no money. That's pretty much it, because with children it's easy to prove, but as Pedro stated, probably it needs to be very clear, and this is one of the issues, Pedro, we've been facing, because a lot of people made these investments, they didn't have the TIE, and now they're showing us the title deed, and the title deed states that is separation of assets, so the marital regime is on a separated property management. So that means 50% husband, 50% wife. That's an issue, and that needs to be sorted.
In that case, any one of them could not apply for golden visa.
Right.
Unless you invest more than €1 million. So
sure. How are we doing for appointments for the TIE at the moment? It's busy? Is there a bit of a queue?
Very busy. We've got in our office 3 people looking for appointments. Right. They are released once a week. You probably don't know when they're going to be released. The policemen, when we pop in, just they tell us it's going to be released on Monday, it's going to be on Friday, even Sundays. We've got the people here. People are very stressed with the appointments. We still don't understand why they make it so complex and so difficult. But we're getting the appointments, so it works. The problem is it's not always available. No. And they don't release it on the same day.
But is that for both types? Is that for people starting from scratch or just updating from the old residency certificate? Yes. So everyone is being held up a little bit at the moment. But you get your application in.
Keep pushing. And then no issues. The only thing is a bit exhausting on searching and searching.
Sure. Yeah. What's a reminder? Because we cover quite the area, everyone sort of focuses on Alicante, but you can do it in Valencia, in city itself.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit freer there. I don't know.
We do it actually in all Spain. Of course, in these areas where we mainly work, but we could do it in any part of Spain. I mean, Valencia is a city which has been attracting a lot of residents from internationally. I saw some weeks ago that Valencia and Alicante, there were like more, I would say, like healthy cities to live in the world.
Yeah, man.
We are receiving a lot of questions. We are having a lot of appointments with families that are planning to come, but families that are working, families that want to bring the children, wants to inscribe in the school, wants to work remotely. This is one issue right now that many people say is, well, it's thinking about, well, I will sell my property, or I will move to Spain, I will work from there, I will travel sometimes, and I will move my family to like a quality of life, good weather, good gastronomy. And at the end, we are having a lot of questions about immigration, obviously, and about taxes in these cases.
Yeah, because people working remotely, you could be anywhere, and you might as well be here.
Right.
It's a better place than maybe where they're coming from.
And that's the reason why there is so many. I've been so amazed about the amount of people, inquiries, and families coming over. There is some that are leaving. Some old client of ours are leaving, and they had their time, they say, and say, well, it's time to go back and see family and things. But a lot of people just having the dream of coming over, and here we go. And the good thing I just find on this situation, people are seeking advice from the origin. So they're contacting through video conference, even from the UK, United States, around the world.
Around the world, yeah.
Even Arabia Saudi, people planning. And that's very good, because in the long run, it's always best and cheaper and less stress. So if you do everything from one, so I'm happy with that.
But as you've mentioned, and I know we mentioned last time, if you are going back, if you're leaving Spain, do tell them that you're gone, because if you are registered as resident, they might still think you're here and looking to charge.
Yeah, it will be good if they're planning to leave. Deregister yourself.
Deregister, that's
and then especially at the police station. And in the tax office, so
and
you
the tax office, that's important.
Because some of them are even living a property here for holidays, and then you need to appoint a fiscal representative, because now if you're a non-resident, tax office, where are they going to send you the letters? So you need to name and tell the tax office who's your tax representative, because otherwise they will notify, serve papers, and then you are not being defended. So that's a good advice for them to leave everything sorted, Moody.
Good point, yeah. Just one last thing about applying with the TIE. If someone applying or starting their residency from scratch, from the very beginning, how many problems are you having with people showing enough in their bank account? You do need to show some money, don't you?
We're having two scenarios. We're having the one, obviously showing money, the 9,000 euros during 3 months, but they are allowing to show that money abroad. So they're being very flexible on you disclosing the financial assets you have abroad. Let's say you have a pension fund, you have money at your disposal, all right? Minimum 9,000 euros.
So not necessarily in a Spanish account?
No, it's working now. They are allowing that. There is something I'm not happy with. The criteria they are taking now is if you don't have the patron registered before, they are rejecting that. So I'm presuming there are going to be a lot of court cases. Actually, yesterday we got a family that was rejected because the patron, they've been here 2 years with a rental contract, money in the bank, everything, but they didn't have the patron. So the policeman just returned it, and I guess we're going to have some cases, Moody, about appeals and going through the Alicante courts because of that. But with regards to money, the 9,000 euros still moves on for the European per person. And as you know, the non-lucrative visa now is for those who come from scratch, from new, and is much more money.
It's much more. I mean, for non-lucrative visa or even golden visa, the minimum amount, I would say, is 27,000 euros. One person, and 2 persons, like a marriage, for example, would be 34,000 euros totally, both of them. Wow. So minimum that you need to show that you are going to have that money to use it without working. Even though for the golden visa you can work, for the non-lucrative visa you cannot work, but you have to show that you have enough money to live in Spain without having the need to work. And you need to show that you have access to that money. It's not just showing that you have some money, it's that you have access to that money.
It's got to be liquid,
And that kind of, we will receive many questions regarding, what if I show that I have this income or that income? I mean, it's not enough. You need to show some savings, some income, but something that is guaranteed, like, for example, a pension. If someone is just receiving, for example, some rental contract income, that may fail the following month, so it would be rejected. So this information, I think, is quite important. That in order to show what sufficient money to live in Spain, that is important. How to show it, and they, for example, they require some minimum months to show, like 6 months time, in order to show that you you've been really receiving that, and there's no fraud, that someone has lent you this money to show it in a bank statement and then you send it back to him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But they check all these things perfectly in order to be sure that someone will be able to live in Spain without working. Really.
It's a bit subjective to the policeman, because even at the embassy they're just checking like policemen, and here they do check it very, as Pedro said, the golden visa is straightforward because once you just have the money, that's it. But the non-lucrative visa, they need to analyze your income or your savings.
Because it's really, the non-lucrative visa is really focused on retirement. It's really focused on people that wants to retire to Spain. It's like for people have enough money to live in Spain, it's retirement, they don't need to work. It was focused for that. Yeah. But it's being used by different kind of social status people. Yeah,
they don't need to buy a property with a non-lucrative visa. They don't need. They can rent.
Yeah. I did say if anybody wanted to get in touch, and first of all, Pete and Joni in Benissa, I want to say thank you for the useful advice. Vital information for residents here. But also, are you happy to give them a quote? This is
sure.
Judith in Benitachell want to get the TIE for herself and her husband. They are residents, so they've got the green card and a Spanish driving licence. So it's a swap over. Fairly straightforward, but just some idea of cost.
Yes. Basically, if it's just exchanging, swapping the TIE, we're being reasonable. €100 plus VAT. That's what we're charging, and they need to pay the local tax. They need to bring with them the old residencia, the padron if they change the address, the photos, okay, and we'll get them the appointment and we will assist them at the extranjería office in Alicante.
Well, that's the thing as well, because you're assisting them in English, yes. So that's, they're paying for that part of it as well. That's pretty reasonable, worth getting done as well.
And I always recommend, and I do recommend here to people who still didn't do it, to do it, even if they want to do it themselves, that's not a problem. But because it's a declaration, getting the TIE is a declaration, a formal declaration that you are under the withdrawal agreement. It's got a lot of protection and a lot of rights, and we could be talking here long enough about the difference between the green one and the other one. Nothing wrong with the green one, but the TIE, you made expressly a formal application that you are protected under the withdrawal agreement with all the treaties that was signed, with all the protections as we all have, So probably for some people, they might not need it. But even one example, just to buy a property down south in Alicante for the military permits, they wouldn't allow you without the TIE, unless you have the TIE.
Yeah,
is the Article 18.4 of the withdrawal agreement. And I encourage people to join it, just to protect themselves, nothing else.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to say again, because the problem we have is with radio, it comes on in the background. People only catch half of it. Your green residency certificate, whether you have the small one or the big A4 one, it's still okay.
That's right.
But it's in your interest to look towards getting the TIE.
There's nothing wrong, Moody, to have the green one.
No.
Nothing at all. It's legal and it's fine, okay? But the TIE is just a formal declaration. And if you want to swap it, I think is a good idea.
Okay. Now, let's get on to it. We didn't mention the work visa there, because that will be of interest to some people. It sounds a little bit complicated, is it, Pedro?
I think we said before that people are thinking about coming to Spain, applying for a non-lucrative visa, but really working in Spain remotely, which at this time there are no really rules on that situation. I mean, is because of this pandemic situation has increased right now, this debt. And through a non-lucrative visa, you cannot work. But always the question is, I'm not working in Spain. I'm working remotely for a company outside of Spain. So I'm not working on the system of Spain. But I would say many of the situation, many of them should be included in the social security system, should be inscribed out maybe as a self-employment, so will be included really in the system of Spain, and also taxes will come abroad in order to be, is all paid in Spain, is paid in abroad. Double taxation treaties will come also to effect and to apply to that situation. So the non-lucrative visa really is not the visa to enter in Spain. We recommend many times, well, apply for non-lucrative visa, maybe start that way, even though technically you cannot work. That's the main pillar, really. And after a year, whenever you're going to renew it, let's change the visa into a work permit visa. For work permit visa, really, is that, you need to show a project, that what kind of business you're going to start, or what kind of employment you're going to do, what kind of impact are you going to do in some area, even though it's very small, even though it's just a restaurant, but of course, for a work permit visa, it comes into effect that which is your ability, which is your situation of employment, which is your skills, will have to be better than the ones out here in order to choose you, for example, as an employee. If some company in Spain wants to contract you. But for the working visa, we are preparing for some of them, like for a project or a business to do. I think it's also something to think about, not just think on the non-lucrative visa, maybe because of your scenario, it's not that one, really. I mean, it's not like, it's like to put the appropriate suit to you according to your scenario.
We're going to have, Pedro, so many questions about teleworking, which is the issue here, isn't it? Teleworking, but as Pedro stated, you need to be, you need to seek advice and do it very well, because you're just on the cliff of one thing is immigration, Moody, and the other thing is a tax, but sometimes comes together because you're here and you're not allowed to work. And here we go. I think if you plan in advance and you do it properly, you should be fine. But unfortunately, sometimes you don't fulfill their requirements. That's the issue.
So I guess there's still stuff that they're trying to iron out and figure out and get set in stone. Like, as you said, with the teleworking, it's a bit of a grey area because you could be working purely for overseas company. Yeah.
The thing is, as Pedro stated, you stay more than 6 months, then you're working abroad, then the only thing I could think of here, Pedro, is, I tell you it's not easy, is whether you could justify to the tax man, if they serve you a letter, that you're paying your taxes abroad because the tax office is telling you, and there is no another way around. So you'll have to have the dual taxation treaty, you have to see that you have to you could do it. I mean, I know it might not be the case, but if you are a servant, okay, that you were allowed probably to work remotely, which I don't know whether that could be the case. That's taxed in the UK, but you could work remotely. So there is something, as Pedro stated, that technically you're not allowed, because non-lucrative visa doesn't allow you to work in Spain. But here we go. I'm sure that we're going to have
You're working from Spain. Rather than
exactly.
Spain,
That's the word, really. From Spain or from a company which is outside of Spain, so it's not really doing anything really in the Spanish system, but really does in the tax system. And in many occasions, you have the obligation to inscribe in the self-employment, social security, and inform, for example, an employee that comes from a different company needs to be inscribed in the like it's like a movement of employment into a Spanish system. I mean, there needs to be done some things that shows that you are working, really.
Are there unofficially? I mean, in some countries there are official categories of people they're looking for, like skills. Is unofficially that sort of thing going on? So that someone might have more chance of getting in than others.
At the end of the day, the INEM is the office here that they request us money to make the application here, and when you don't have nobody able, let's say you need somebody who only does that specific job. Okay, you need to convince them. So the work visa, you need to present a project. It needs to be presented properly, legalized through the commerce department in Spain. So it needs to be stamped and approved here that is viable. And then you need to convince that you're going to bring good for Spain. And you're going to bring things that are valuable. So, as Pedro said, the non-lucrative is discretionary because they need to analyze the income. Here is even more, because here they need to understand that you have enough money to live. You're going to create work. It's going to be good for Spain. So we've done in the past, Moody, don't get me wrong. We've done it from people from Saudi Arabia. I think it was from Iran, the very latest one. Yeah. It took us a year to get it all sorted through all the embassies. I think it was, I cannot remember which one we dealt with. And so it's possible.
Yeah, because Moody, we are receiving a lot of questions, we say, about relocation, but relocation is also a business. I mean, someone says, I'm going to relocate my own business because I'm not just working outside. I leave the business in any other country. I want to bring my business into Spain. And at the end, to relocate the business, it comes into, like Ignacio said, to prepare a business report, a project, and to show about the impact, and you need to approve a positive resolution by the public administration. And that's the thing. I mean, that's the business in order to apply for residency for work, but also is about the employee. I mean, to get an employment in Spain, which is, I would say, is more difficult.
Yeah, sure. I suspect that if it's an existing business, they'll be used to that. They'll have presented a business plan to the bank initially, maybe to get a loan, that sort of thing. So they know what they need to have in place.
Yes.
What about maybe some businesses that want to stay in the EU? So a lot of them have gone to Ireland for obvious reasons. I mean, English speaking and the like. Are there many that have tried to do that here in Spain? Do you think out of the UK?
Well, I've seen a lot of movement like that.
So they're kind of relocating the headquarters, the equivalent of that.
I mean, you say Ireland and Germany a lot also, and to Spain also. I would say also to Spain, but probably Spain just because of people is moving really physically to Spain and wants to bring and attach all the connections about family business into Spanish system. And at the end, it's just to control things about, just to have, the taxes and accountancy and everything to get it done in Spain, where the place that people is living. But I agree with you. I mean, Ireland and Germany and also Holland, the Netherlands, also a place to that I can check that people is moving really the business in some way. But whenever people is coming physically really here to be resident, to live here, I mean, is really the attraction comes into Spain, and the obligation in order to be inscribed to pay social security comes into effect whenever someone applies for residency and gets residency.
Is there anything you can say to people now that are here and they didn't apply before the 31st of December for the TIE for residency? What's available? What are their options now?
Well, what I will encourage them
they're going home today. Otherwise,
you're talking about the people who are living or the people who stay?
People who were in Spain before the end of the before Brexit, and then want to stay on, but
they want to stay on.
They haven't got the residency
paperwork.
Yet.
Well,
is it too late?
Well, I don't think it's too late. I am reluctant to think it's too late. A different thing is whether we're going to be successful through the process. That's a different story. I encourage them, if they really want to come here, to fight their case through a lawyer that could help them. It's very important for these people to seek independent advice and good advice, and people who are used to these, but not only on the application, through the courts, because you need to prepare the whole case for going through the courts. To
receive a negative answer in order to appeal on that,
So do you think you'd have to do that on a case-by-case basis, or would there be...
Yes. The difficult cases that people couldn't prove it in the past smoothly. For example, the case I told you, Moody, on the padron. You didn't register yourself padron. To me, it's ridiculous, because you have different evidence. But the policemen, to start with, they reject it because you don't comply with the requirements.
Right.
Okay? In that case, I will encourage to fight it all the way through, because it's much more to win than to lose, The only problem, Moody, that you're going to be in an irregular situation until it ends up with a court case in Alicante, which it will take you roughly a year.
Right.
Roughly, the whole court case from, let's say, you submit your application, they say no, and then you have the option to just try it again, which probably we would not recommend it to try it again through the same policeman, and you're giving another month, and then you have the option to take it to the court in Alicante to review your paperwork. In that case, we are just preparing here witnesses, declaration in front of a public notary, water bills, electric bills.
Proof as much as proof as possible in order to show that you've been really resident.
Yes.
If it takes a year, though, what do they do in the meantime? Can they stick around?
In the meantime, the situation is you're irregular. That's as simple as it is. A different thing is going to whether they're going to just deport it. Well, there is a lot of people that they don't have the paperwork sorted. What the way we're doing at the moment, I'm giving to our clients a letter saying they did hire us to represent them through the courts, and all this is being taken through the courts. Yes. So at the end of the day, and I think even if you stop, it's a different department. They're being reasonable. I don't think they're going to be that because they need to call different departments, etc., etc. They're not doing. So far, I haven't seen that happening. Okay, I'm talking about probably even different nationalities because at the moment it's new for Brits, but for we could tell you experience about different scenario from different nationality, and that's why I will recommend them to take the case further if they want to fight for it. Have a letter from their lawyer saying that is being contested.
Yeah.
And then the problem is, if you leave, you are not going to be able to come back again. So,
of course, yeah.
Yes. So I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave.
No, right. And I suppose a letter from yourselves would mean that it looks like it's a worthwhile case. If there's no hope, then you wouldn't take it on.
We wouldn't take it because we'll say to the client, this option is not good for you. Let's find a different option. Or we'll just we didn't even talk, and we don't have time. We could talk next time about the social ties in Spain for those people who've been living in Spain 3 years with a padron, but they didn't have anything. So there is another visa, which is what we call arraigo, and that's social ties. We've got it in the visa today as well. You could see, if you remind them the website, they will be able to see the blog, and they could learn the requirements for that type of visa.
So that is visaspain.today. So .today is the suffix there, and that will take you to showing everything pretty much that we've talked about today and more by the sounds of it.
We'll be uploading, Moody, more and more because according to questions, and we'll be doing the webinar. We've got the webinar on the 28th of April.
Right. Yeah.
That is on the website as well, and it's about golden visa, a specific type of visa. So, I mean, we'll be updating you, buddy.
Yes, details of all of that. I mean, you'll be back in hopefully in a couple of weeks' time anyway, post-Easter. And we have a look at the blog in the meantime. So AlicanteLawyers.es, your blog kept nicely up to date and some really good articles on there. We mentioned about the TIE. It was Judith says, do we have to make an appointment or can we just call into the office, the Javier office?
I'll prefer them to give him a ring now. It's 965-480-737, and Miriam is in the office. She will organise that for
Yes, because that sort of thing is quite busy at the moment.
Yes.
So, right.
We could have a video conference appointment right now. Is very usual, right?
Yes, so we're using a lot. He's working very well, Moody. He's working well.
All right, well, thanks ever so much for your time. Lucky to have both of you in, as I say. We'll let you get on because I'm sure there's plenty to do. And see one, if not both of you, back in a couple of weeks' time.